Welcome back to Mysteries and Things, your go-to spot for all things mysterious, historical, and just plain intriguing. Today, we're diving into the wild, wild West, where the only thing more dangerous than a rattlesnake was crossing paths with Black Jack Ketchum. Now, don't get him confused with the lovable actor Jack Black. This Jack was a notorious, gun-toting gang leader with a flair for train robberies and a mysterious treasure that, rumor has it, is still out there waiting to be found. So, saddle up, folks. We're about to explore the life of this infamous outlaw, his daring exploits, and the tantalizing possibility that his ill-gotten gains are still buried somewhere in the Southwest. But before we start the treasure hunt, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Who knows? Maybe our next video will be about your own legendary find. Thomas Edward Ketchum, born on October 31st, 1863. Yep, Halloween. Was destined for a life that was more trick than treat. Growing up in San Saba County, Texas, during the rough-and-tumble days of post-Civil War America, young Tom was no stranger to hardship. The frontier life was no picnic, and his family, like many others, had to fight tooth and nail just to make it through the day. It's no wonder that Tom, surrounded by the harsh realities of the West, would later turn to a life of crime. After all, in the Wild West, it wasn't just about survival. It was about coming out on top. Tom's early years were shaped by the unforgiving landscape of the West, where law and order were more of a suggestion than a rule. When his father died in 1874, young Tom was forced to grow up fast, learning that sometimes bending the law was the only way to make it. These experiences laid the groundwork for the man who would become one of the most feared outlaws in American history. Fast forward to the late 1890s. And Tom Ketchum is no longer just a boy trying to make his way. He's on a path that leads straight to notoriety. Economic hardship and the promise of quick, easy money pushed Tom into a life of cattle rustling and small-time robbery. But like any good outlaw story, things didn't stay small for long. When cattle rustling wasn't cutting it anymore, and with the law breathing down his neck, Tom decided to up the ante. He swapped out cattle for cold hard cash, focusing on train and bank robberies instead. These weren't just crimes, they were adventures, filled with high risks and even higher rewards. And let's face it, in the Wild West, who didn't want a little adventure with their morning coffee? By 1896, Tom was done playing solo. He formed a gang that included his brother, Sam Ketchum, and other notorious figures like Will Carver and Harvey Logan. Together, these guys were like the Avengers of the outlaw world. Minus the superpowers, of course, unless you count a quick draw and a disregard for the law as superpowers. The Ketchum gang quickly earned a fearsome reputation, thanks to their bold, meticulously planned heists, with Sam providing moral support and strategic planning, and others like Will and Harvey bringing their own unique talents to the table. The gang was a force to be reckoned with. Their early exploits across New Mexico, Colorado, and Texas showed that they were just getting started. In 1897, the Ketchum gang pulled off their first major heist, robbing a Southern Pacific train near Steins Pass, New Mexico. This wasn't just any robbery. This was the one that put them on the map. The gang's audacity and tactical planning were on full display as they stopped the train at a remote location, overpowered the guards, and made off with the loot. This heist was a game-changer for the gang. It wasn't just about the money. It was about making a name for themselves. And boy, did they succeed. The loot from this heist provided the financial means to sustain their outlaw lifestyle, but more importantly, it solidified their reputation as a gang that was not to be messed with. 2 years later, in 1899, the Ketchum gang decided to go big or go home with the Folsom train robbery in New Mexico. This heist was like the Super Bowl of train robberies. High stakes, lots of planning, and a whole lot of cash. The gang targeted a heavily guarded train, using their knowledge of the terrain and railway schedules to their advantage. The heist was a smashing success, netting a substantial haul of money and valuables. This wasn't just about stealing, it was about showing everyone that the Ketchum gang was the real deal. Their growing expertise and willingness to take big risks paid off. Big time. But, as they say, all good things must come to an end. In 1900, during another train robbery attempt near Folsom, New Mexico, Ketchum's luck ran out. Things went south fast. Unforeseen complications led to a violent shootout, and Ketchum was seriously injured. To make matters worse, his gang members, not wanting to join him in a jail cell, abandoned him. Ketchum's capture by law enforcement marked the beginning of the end for the Ketchum gang. Severely wounded and without his gang to back him up, he was quickly tried and convicted for his crimes. The once feared outlaw was now just another prisoner, waiting for his date with destiny. Ketchum was taken to Clayton, New Mexico, where he awaited trial. Despite his infamy, the trial was swift. Let's just say, the jury didn't take long to decide that Ketchum's train robbing days were over. He was convicted of attempted train robbery, a capital offense at the time, meaning he was set for the gallows. The trial was the event of the year in Clayton. People packed the courtroom, eager to see the downfall of the infamous Black Jack Ketchum. Despite his attempts to defend himself, the evidence was overwhelming. The jury's verdict was clear. Ketchum was guilty, and there would be no last-minute pardons. On April 26, 1901, Black Jack Ketchum was hanged in Clayton. Now, hangings were pretty standard fare in the Old West. But this one was different. The execution was a gruesome spectacle. Ketchum's decapitation during the hanging shocked onlookers and was splashed across the headlines. It was a macabre end for an outlaw who had lived his life on the edge. This gruesome finale didn't just mark the end of Black Jack. It also sparked a flurry of speculation about what had happened to the gang's stolen riches. With Ketchum dead, any secrets he had about hidden treasure were lost forever. Or were they? Stories of Ketchum's lost treasure began to circulate almost immediately after his execution. According to legend, Ketchum and his gang had buried their stolen loot in various secret spots across the Southwest. The exact locations? Only Ketchum and a few of his closest associates knew, and they weren't talking. The myth of Ketchum's treasure grew from whispers among locals to full-blown legends. People began to imagine that somewhere out there, buried in the rugged landscape of the Southwest, was a fortune in gold, cash, and valuables, just waiting to be found. And who wouldn't want to believe that? Over the years, various treasure maps and cryptic clues have popped up, each claiming to lead to Ketchum's hidden fortune. Some of these maps were said to be found among Ketchum's personal effects, while others were attributed to his gang members. These maps and clues have sparked the imaginations of treasure hunters and historians alike, fueling endless speculation. Whether these maps are authentic or just clever fakes, they've played a huge role in keeping the legend alive. Who wouldn't be tempted by a weathered old map with a big red X marking the spot of buried treasure? It's the stuff dreams and great YouTube videos are made of. The quest for Ketchum's treasure has inspired countless expeditions. From amateur adventurers with a metal detector to professional treasure hunters with high-tech gadgets, many have scoured the Southwest in search of the elusive loot. Despite all the digging, searching, and dreaming, the treasure remains undiscovered, adding even more mystique to the legend. Every failed attempt to find the treasure just adds to its allure. The possibility that it might still be out there, waiting for the right person to stumble upon it, keeps the legend alive and well. Who knows? Maybe the next treasure hunter will strike gold, literally. Historians have been debating the existence of Ketchum's treasure for decades. Some say it's nothing more than a tall tale, a romanticized bit of Western folklore that's been blown out of proportion. Others believe there's solid evidence to suggest that Ketchum and his gang really did stash away a fortune, and that it's still out there, just waiting to be found. The skeptics point to the lack of concrete evidence. No confirmed finds, no clear leads, just a bunch of old stories and dubious maps. But the believers argue that the gang stole a substantial amount of money and valuables, much of which was never recovered. Could it be that Ketchum's treasure is still out there, waiting for someone to piece together the clues? The legend of Ketchum's treasure has been kept alive through books, movies, and TV shows. It's a story that taps into our love of adventure and the unknown, blending history with mystery in a way that's irresistible. Whether it's a dime novel from the late 19th century or a modern Hollywood blockbuster, Ketchum's story has been told and retold, each version adding its own twist to the legend. These portrayals have done more than entertain. They've reinforced the idea that somewhere, buried deep in the Southwest, is a hidden treasure just waiting to be discovered. It's a story that captivates the imagination, promising adventure, danger, and, of course, a whole lot of gold. Thanks to modern technology, the search for Ketchum's treasure has entered a new era. Today's treasure hunters have tools that Ketchum could only have dreamed of: ground-penetrating radar, advanced metal detectors, and sophisticated historical databases that can uncover new leads and insights. These tools have given new life to the search, offering hope that the mystery might finally be solved. Who knows? Maybe the next big breakthrough will come not from a weathered old map, but from a digital scan of the Earth that reveals a hidden stash. One thing's for sure: the legend of Ketchum's treasure is far from over. The tale of Black Jack Ketchum and his lost treasure is a captivating blend of history, legend, and mystery. It's a story that reminds us of the timeless allure of the unknown, and of the fact that some mysteries might never be fully solved. Whether Ketchum's treasure is ever found or remains a tantalizing legend, the story of Black Jack Ketchum continues to captivate and inspire. Thank you for joining us on this wild ride through history. If you enjoyed this dive into the mystery of Black Jack Ketchum's lost treasure, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Mysteries and Things. And hey, stay tuned for our next video. We've got more fascinating tales from the past coming your way.